War never changes.
In 5,
You're gonna knock him dead at the Veterans Hall tonight, hun.
You think?
4,
Good morning, sir.
3,
How are the two most important men in my life doing?
2,
Flashes, blinding flashes.
1.
Hold on!
Oh, well, I'm the type of guy who will never settle down. Where pretty girls are, well, you know that I'm around. I kiss them and I love them, cause to me they're all the same. I hug them and I squeeze them, they don't even know my name. They call me the Wanderer, yeah, the Wanderer. I roam around, 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 around. Oh, well, there's Flo on my left arm and there's Mary on my right. And Janie is the girl, well, that I'll be with tonight. And when she asks me which one I love the best, I tear open my shirt and I show her Rosie on my chest. Cause I'm a wanderer, yeah, a wanderer. I roam around, 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 around. Oh, well, I roam from town to town. I go through life without a care. And I'm as happy as a clown. I'm with my 2 fists divine, but I'm going nowhere. Oh, yeah, I'm the type of guy that likes to roam around. I'm never in one place. I roam from town to town. And when I find myself falling for some girl, yeah, I hop right in that car of mine. I drive around the world. Yeah, I'm a wanderer. Yeah, a wanderer. I roam around, 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 around. Let roam, I let go. Oh, yeah, I'm the type of guy that likes to roam around. I'm never in one place. I roam from town to town. And when I find myself falling for some girl, I hop right into that car of mine, drive around the world, cause I'm a wanderer. Yeah, a wanderer. I roam around, 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 cause I'm a wanderer. Yeah, a wanderer. I roam around, 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 cause I'm a wanderer.
In 2053, the new plague swept across the United States of America, forcing the US government to mandate a nationwide quarantine. These efforts, however, were mostly in vain, as the plague continued to ravage the nation for the next decade. Yet, fate did not have only one tragedy in store for the world. 7 years later, in 2060, the United States' oil well dried up, leaving the American automotive industry scraping to stay afloat. Overdependence on oil had led to the underdevelopment of electric and fusion powertrains. The little development that was done was far too little, far too late. These American failures, alongside rising tensions with the People's Republic of China, spread paranoia into the masses. The United States capitalized on the public's paranoia, introducing a second Red Scare, once again pointing the people's fear and hate towards communism. This, combined with the increased hostility of the PRC toward the United States, while simultaneously beginning operations on US soil, pushed the US into the development of power armor in 2065. Consequently, fusion technology and nuclear weapons were greatly advanced. The world awaited Armageddon. They did not have to wait long, as in the spring of 2066, global oil fields had gone completely dry, and the PRC was even more dependent on this liquid gold than the US. The final nail in the coffin of peace was the US's refusal to export its crude oil reserves to the PRC. In the winter of 2066, out of sheer desperation, the PRC invaded Alaska, hoping to secure its oil reserves. War had finally broken out between the world's two greatest superpowers. This war raged for 10 long years, the two nations remaining in a bloody stalemate for most of it. Countless soldiers were subject to the horrors of war. One of them being Nate. He served in the 2nd Battalion in the 108th Infantry Regiment. During his service, he became a decorated war hero. No war crimes at all. But he left the army to grow his family with his wife Nora.
Will it be like that night in the park a year ago?
On October 23rd, 2077, Nate was set to give a speech at the Veterans Hall in Concord, and he was gonna blow their socks off. Because war never changes. But unfortunately, his ordinary morning changed when his Mr. Handy, Codsworth, called for him. He was all like, "Sir, Mom, you should come and see this." And they're like, "Oh my goodness, what's going on?" America was being nuked. Oh my god! Because the PRC was backed into a corner, and they were just like, you know what? Let's throw some nukes at them. So Nate, Nora, and their son Sean rushed out of the house and to the local vault. Vault 111, where they are thankfully admitted not 10 minutes earlier. Oh my god! Shattered from watching their world fall apart before their very eyes, the family was encouraged deeper into the vault. It seemed as almost everyone on the surface must have died from that nuclear blast. What was Nate, some kind of sole survivor? However, unbeknownst to the family, they had just become one of the many test subjects of Vault-Tec. But surely it can't be that awful. I mean, what bad has Vault-Tec done? Nothing. Nate and Nora were placed in chambers across the hall from each other, and instantly, a cold rushed over him as he was frozen in time. But only a moment later, Nate reawakened, and new voices echoed through the room. This was not gonna be good for Nate.
I'm not giving you Sean!
Once again, the cold rushed over Nate, and just as before, he woke within seconds. After stumbling his way to Nora's chamber, well, shucks, looks like she is a goner. But not all hope's lost yet. There's still Sean. He's gotta be out there. So Nate made his way through the vault, encountering roaches mutated to enormous size by the vast amounts of radiation released when the Earth was blasted asunder.
Giant roaches?
Not only did he find these creatures of the wasteland, he found the remains of the Vault-Tec staff. That's not good. Seems like something is amiss here. How long had he been frozen? Nate continued his way through the vault and found the exit. And once he made his way to the surface, he was in an unfamiliar world. The bombs had induced a radioactive fire that left the world scorched and abandoned. The plant life had adapted quickly, though, reclaiming much of what man had constructed. Nate had no direction, though. He had no idea where Sean could be. But he had to find him still. So he went to the first place he could think of, home. There, he found Codsworth vainly attempting to manicure the plants.
Codsworth?
How do you polish rust?
He knew that the chances were slim, but he agreed to help Codsworth search the neighborhood for Sean. And all he found were bugs. After that foreseen failure, Codsworth suggested that Nate search the nearby town of Concord. On his journey there, Nate found only the best character in the whole game. This dog then accompanied him into the hostilities of Concord, where Nate found himself in the midst of a battle. He fought his way through the street and was called upon by the people in the museum. So, why not? He went ahead and fought his way through the rest of the museum and saved the unlucky group. Nate then learned that these were the remaining members of the post-war Minutemen,
I got word of a settlement that needs our help.
a group that sought to help the settlers of the Commonwealth. Can't do much of that when your group is made of stoner and depressed guy. And then 3 actual useful people. Yeah, not much is gonna get done. But anyway, they needed more help. So Nate made his way onto the roof and got in a power armor and just teleported that minigun right into his hands and started blasting away. There was a Deathclaw that came out of nowhere, just for lore purposes, and Nate took that down too. Nothing's gonna stop him from finding Sean. After returning to the helpless settlers, the stoner bestowed Nate with a great vision, a vision of his son, and she just told him what anyone else would say, to go to Diamond City, the biggest city in the Commonwealth, built in the remains of Fenway Park. So Nate made his way there. He trudged through the hostilities of the Commonwealth, eventually reaching the stadium. As he approached the gate, he overheard an argument between the town reporter Piper and the gatekeeper, and instantly Nate was manipulated into helping her get in. But that's okay, because she's for truth and a good person. But Nate didn't care about that. He had to find Sean. So he went in, and the mayor was like, "What are you doing in here, Piper?" "Well, anyway, newcomer, welcome to Diamond City. You're looking for someone? Go to Nick Valentine." So that's what Nate did. He went to Nick Valentine. But Nick Valentine was not there, because he had been kidnapped after trying to save a girl who ran away from home with a group of gangsters run by Skinny Malone. So Nate had to go save Nick Valentine. Nate went further into Boston, eventually making his way to the Park Street subway, where this gang was held out. Nate fought his way through this unfinished vault project and saved Nick, who I think there might be something a little sneaky going on. He doesn't look all human to me, but it's just a sneaking suspicion. Anyway, Nate didn't care. He shared his story with Nick, and Nick was like, "Oh, well, that surely's gotta be Conrad Kellogg." And with a name like that, surely that would be a kidnapper. Nate found out that recently Kellogg had resided in Diamond City, and he was spotted with a child around 10 years old. Nate was a little confused because he is like, Sean was like 1? I don't think he's 10, but maybe it's another kid, or maybe Sean just grows up really fast. I don't know. I wasn't his parent for that long. So he ran with it. He went to the house where Kellogg had stayed at, and looks like he had a secret room for sitting and staring at the wall in his chair while smoking and drinking. That's pretty awesome. So Nate was like, "Hey, well, I've got a dog, and I've got cigarettes. So let's find this guy." And he used the assistance of Dogmeat, and they followed Kellogg's trail. He left all this carnage and the dead bodies and robots left behind him. But Nate was like, "I am fueled by the love for my son." And he made it, eventually, to Fort Hagen, where Kellogg and all his synths were stationed. And he launched his bloodlust-fueled assault.
Oh, I'm ready. Question is, are you?
There he is, most resilient man in the Commonwealth. You are in over your head in ways you can't possibly comprehend.
End the line, Kellogg. You die, and I get my son back.
Following Institute Protocol, eliminating hostile.
That's the spirit. But if you're hoping for a happy reunion, the boy's not here. He's home. In the Institute. In another life, he probably would have been a good father. But here, this terrible reality, you just don't get that chance.
After his confrontation with Kellogg, Nate returned to Diamond City, hoping that Piper could provide some insight. I don't know why Piper, but she is an expert on writing stories, so she knows about this stuff, surely. And it did help, because in the conversation, Nick was brought to the realization that they didn't need Kellogg alive to get into the Institute, they only needed his brain. Fortunately, Nate had ripped a large chunk of that brain right out of Kellogg's head when he was looting him. What a coincidence. So armed with this dead man's brain, the group traveled to the memory den in Good Neighbor. There, Dr. Omari, the expert behind recalling distant memories, could not believe what they were trying to do. She didn't think it was possible. But this is Nate we're talking about, and he has plot armor. So this has to work. And also, Kellogg's implant was kind of compatible with Nick's prototype synth hardware, so Dr. Omari just formed a link and then it allowed all this stuff to work. And this is what led Nate into the head of his wife's murderer. He saw a man that he only thought of as a monster for what he truly was. Isn't that crazy? He saw that Kellogg had a childhood. And he had a drunk dad? And a careless mom? Holy cow. But that's not it.
Dad was either drunk.
Kellogg had a family after that. With a wife. Like Nora. And an infant child. Oh my goodness. It's like the same thing. And you know what happened to them? They got murdered. It's all connecting now. The dots. Nate saw that Kellogg was just a lost man, manipulated into becoming a pawn of the Institute. Kellogg was no more than a byproduct of his environment, no different from Nate himself. Kellogg might have pulled the trigger, but the Institute killed his wife. Coping with killing him was easy when Kellogg was a monster to Nate, but now Nate saw him as a man. However, Nate did not regret killing Kellogg. He may have been doing the bidding of the Institute, but that did not change the fact that he was an evil man. But going into Kellogg's head wasn't just a moral predicament for Nate. He actually got some useful information out of it. He got a lead, because when he killed Kellogg, Kellogg had been preparing an excursion into the glowing sea, seeking an Institute deserter, Brian Virgil. Armed with this knowledge, Nate dove into the glowing sea, eventually reaching Ground Zero, where he found a group of radiation-worshipping zealots. I don't know how they're still chilling, but they're kind of beasts. However, they informed Nate that Virgil was living in a cave nearby, deeper into the glowing sea. Nate entered this cave and found Virgil, but this was not the Virgil he had expected. A failed Institute experiment had led to Brian Virgil mutating into a super mutant. And boy is he glorious. Now that is a hunk of a man. And using his supreme persuasion, Nate convinced Virgil that he was not there to kill him. He actually needed his help, and Virgil was like, yeah, alright. The Institute uses a teleporter. And I'll tell you how to build it. But first, you gotta go get the signal, because there's radio waves and stuff, so go kill a courser for me. And a courser just so happens to be a specially designed synth made for killing, so this was gonna be quite the challenge for Nate, I'm sure. However, Nate knew that he would do what was needed for Sean. Starting from the ruins of the Commonwealth Institute of Technology, Nate followed the Courser's signal, and he was led to GreenTech Genetics. There, the Courser was slaughtering a faction of gunners who had captured a third-generation synth. This was quite the scary predicament, but Nate just worked his way through the building anyway, and killed what gunners had remained. Once he reached the Courser, he taught that Courser the same lesson that he taught Kellogg. A bullet is a bullet, no matter how special you are. Yeah, kind of a boss move from Nate, but just another day saving Sean, right? Anyway, he removed the relay chip from the Courser and brought it to Dr. Amari. Unfortunately, she couldn't help Nate decode the chip herself, but she pointed him to the railroad.
Next stop, the railroad.
Choo-choo!
This was a group of synth sympathizers who freed the synths from the clutches of the Institute, giving them a new life and new memories. So Nate followed Boston's Freedom Trail to Old North Church, where he found the most difficult puzzle of all time. What was the secret code? It wouldn't be the name of the organization, would it? Upon entering the secret door, he was confronted, but the waves he had made through the Commonwealth finally caught up with him. As a member of the railroad, Deacon recognized him as the man who killed the Courser. That's kind of crazy, because he only did that, like, maybe 2 hours ago, and these guys already know, so they're a little bit of stalkers. Won't trust them that much. But anyway, they decoded the chip from Nate and gave him the relay signal he required. Once more, he paid a visit to Virgil, where he was given plans to build a molecular relay. Unfortunately, he couldn't build it himself, so he asked the Minutemen from Concord for their glorious help. Preston Garvey told Nate that they didn't have that much manpower, so they couldn't build something of that caliber. So then Nate went out to expunge the Commonwealth of evil that plagued it, because these helpless Minutemen couldn't do it themselves. He's kind of the hero of everyone's story, isn't he? After completing these mind-numbing tasks, the Minutemen were finally powerful enough to build the relay. Except Nate still had to do it himself. With all the preparations made, the only thing left to do was enter the Institute. Nate stood in the relay while Sturgis powered the machine. And there may have been a few hiccups along the way, but ultimately, Nate was ripped apart on a molecular level and rebuilt in the place that had been only myth for so long.
7, 6, 11, 5, 9 and 20 miles today, 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Don't look at what's in front of you.
Her death was an unfortunate bit of collateral damage.
Moving up and down again. Men go mad with watching them. There's no discharge in the war.
Institute synths are moving on our position. This is not a drill.
If your eyes drop, they will get the top of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Try to think of something different. Oh, my God, people going lunatic. Moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. 7, 6, 11, 5,